Most drivers think fuel economy is about the car they bought. Truckers know it's about how you drive it. Same roads, same fuel, completely different results. Because in trucking, every wasted gallon is lost profit. So they figure out what actually works. By the end of this, you'll know the habits that quietly drain your tank and the ones that fix it. Let's start with something almost embarrassing. Habit 7. The weight you're not hauling for free. Most American cars are rolling storage units. I've inspected vehicles and pulled out golf clubs the owner hadn't swung in 2 years, full toolboxes nobody had opened, and bags of road salt left over from last winter. One customer had 2 car seats his kids outgrew before the pandemic. He'd just forgotten they were back there. Here are the facts. Every extra 100 pounds costs you roughly 1 to 2% in fuel economy. Carry 200 pounds you don't need over 12,000 annual miles, and you're burning somewhere between 24 and 48 extra gallons a year. At today's prices, that's real money leaving your wallet every single week. Owner-operators won't keep an extra wrench on board they don't need. They call it dead head weight, and they treat it like a slow leak. Pause this video. Take 10 minutes, go pull everything out of the trunk. If it hasn't moved in 30 days, it doesn't belong in your car. Keep a spare, a jack, jumper cables. By the way, if you're new here, hit subscribe. This is the channel where mechanics stop playing nice and start telling you what the industry keeps to itself. Habit 6. 3 minutes at every fill-up. Tire pressure. Not buying new tires. Not brands. The number on the sticker inside your driver's door that almost nobody actually checks. A tire 6 psi below spec doesn't look flat. It looks completely normal. But it's increasing your rolling resistance enough to cost about 3% in fuel economy per tire. Most American drivers are running at least 1 or 2 tires underinflated right now without knowing it. Here's what the tire industry doesn't put on the receipt. Tires lose pressure naturally. No puncture, no damage, just through the rubber itself and temperature swings. A tire can drop 1 to 2 psi every month sitting in your driveway. Fleets like Schneider and JB Hunt run pressure monitoring systems on every rig. Not because of regulation, because Bridgestone published data showing an underinflated steer tire costs a long-haul operator over $600 per truck per year in extra fuel. Multiply that across a fleet of 10,000 trucks, and the math runs itself. One thing nobody mentions, for every 10-degree drop in outside temperature, your tires lose about 1 psi. A car properly inflated in September can be running 4 or 5 psi low by December. Drivers blame winter for their fuel economy. Winter's just deflating their tires. It's as simple as 3 minutes, a gauge, and free air at the pump. If you're not checking pressure monthly, you're already losing fuel. Habit 5. The AC mistake that costs you every summer. Your air conditioning isn't an on or off decision, it's a timing decision. And most drivers get the timing exactly wrong. The most expensive moment to run AC is the first 2 minutes after starting on a hot day. Cabin temperature maxed out, engine still cold, compressor under full load. 0 road speed to help with airflow. That combination is the single biggest fuel spike you'll create the entire drive. And most people do it every single day without thinking twice. Here's the fix. Before you get in on a hot day, crack the windows for 60 seconds. Let the worst of the heat escape. Once you're moving, drive with windows down for the first minute or 2 and let road airflow do the heavy lifting. Then turn the AC on. The compressor isn't fighting a 140-degree cabin anymore. It's maintaining, not recovering. And shut it off 2 minutes before you arrive. The cabin's already cool. That's free comfort on borrowed time. Now, I want to push back on something you've probably heard. A lot of fuel-saving videos tell you to skip AC entirely and just use the windows. That advice is wrong above about 50 miles per hour. Open windows at highway speeds create more aerodynamic drag than the compressor draws in engine load. The SAE tested this. The answer isn't no AC, it's smart AC. There's a real difference. Habit 4. The speed window nobody told you about. Every car has a sweet spot, a narrow range where the engine, transmission, and aerodynamics are all working together with the least possible effort. For most American cars and light trucks, that window is 45 to 55 miles per hour. Above that, aerodynamic drag doesn't increase gradually. It increases exponentially. Going from 55 to 75 miles per hour nearly doubles the resistance your engine has to push through. You're not going 36% faster, you're burning close to twice the fuel to fight the air. This isn't theory. Major fleets electronically govern their trucks between 62 and 65 miles per hour. Not for safety, for fuel. The drivers complain. The accounting department doesn't care. When you're running 12,000 trucks, every mile per hour has a dollar sign attached to it. I'm not telling you to cruise at 50 on an interstate, but on rural highways and back roads, that 45 to 55 window makes a measurable difference at the pump. And here's a quick way to find your car's version of it. Glance at your tachometer on your next highway stretch. Aim for 1,500 to 2,200 RPM in top gear. That's where combustion efficiency peaks. That's your engine's natural resting state. And anything north of it is costing you money you didn't need to spend. Habit 3. Why slow drivers burn more fuel. There's a widespread belief that smooth driving means slow acceleration. Ease onto the gas, crawl up to speed, save fuel. That belief is wrong. And if you drive that way, it's costing you. Smooth and slow are not the same thing. When you accelerate too gently, the transmission stays in lower gears longer than it needs to. Lower gears mean higher RPM at any given speed. Higher RPM means the engine is working harder and burning more fuel to produce less forward motion. You're not saving anything, you're keeping the engine in its least efficient state for as long as possible. The correct technique is called progressive shifting. Get to top gear quickly. Stay below 2,500 RPM, but don't crawl through the lower gears. Peterbilt and Kenworth both published driver training materials on exactly this. It's not a secret. It's just never been passed along to regular drivers. I had a customer 4 years ago, Honda Civic, well-maintained, no mechanical issues. Came in complaining his real-world fuel economy was significantly below the EPA estimate. We took a short drive and I had the answer in 3 minutes. He was so cautious of the line that he was spending 15 to 20 seconds in second gear, engine straining, climbing through the power band at high RPM. He genuinely believed he was being efficient. 1 tank of deliberate practice. His mileage went up nearly 15%. Same car, same route. Firm, smooth, deliberate. Below 2,500 RPM. Shift early. Get to cruise speed quickly. Driving like you're afraid of the gas pedal isn't gentle, it's expensive. Habit 2. The free brake you already own. Most American drivers use the brake pedal every time they need to slow down. Driver's ed taught it. It works, but there's another way to slow a car that costs nothing in fuel. And in most everyday situations, it's more efficient than braking. Engine braking. And it's the closest thing to a free fuel-saving tool that exists in the car you already own. When you're in gear, not neutral, not coasting, wheels connected to the drivetrain, and you lift completely off the accelerator, the fuel injectors on a modern engine cut off almost immediately. The computer recognizes no throttle input and shuts the fuel feed down. The engine's own compression slows the car. You're decelerating for free. The trucking industry didn't just discover this. They built hardware around it. That loud engine roar you hear when a loaded semi comes down a long grade? That's a Jake brake, a compression release engine brake. It exists entirely because professional drivers needed a way to manage momentum on long descents without burning out their surface brakes. Some towns have banned them in residential areas because they're so loud. The industry invented a whole piece of equipment around the principle that engine compression is free deceleration. Your car does this automatically the moment you lift off the throttle in gear. Most drivers just never knew it was happening. Stop reaching for the brake the second you see a reason to slow down. Lift off the gas first. Let the car slow itself. Use the actual brake only when you genuinely need to stop. The secondary benefit compounds over time. Brake pads wear in direct proportion to how hard and how often they're applied. A driver who arrives at stops already slowing, instead of arriving fast and braking hard, can run 60, 70, even 80,000 miles on a set of pads. The same car driven reactively might go through a set every 30 to 40,000. A brake job at a chain shop runs $300 to $400 an axle. Engine braking saves you money in 2 directions at once. Habit number 1, the habit that makes the other 6 work. Everything on this list, the weight, the tires, the AC, the speed, the acceleration, the engine braking, all of it depends on something that isn't a technique. It's not a setting on your car. It's a way of thinking while you drive. Fleet drivers call it forward observation. Most people call it anticipatory driving. CDL training requires it, not for fuel economy, for survival. A loaded semi at highway speed needs the length of a football field to stop. A driver who only reads the bumper in front of him doesn't get a second chance. Every commercial driver training program in the country teaches the 15-second rule as a safety requirement. The fuel savings are a side effect. 15 to 20 seconds ahead of your current position at highway speed. That's a quarter mile. In the city, 2 or 3 blocks past where you are right now. You see the light a quarter mile ahead turn yellow. You lift now. Coast on engine braking. By the time you read the intersection, it may have cycled green and you pass through without stopping, without braking, without re-accelerating from 0. Or it stays red and you arrive rolling at 5 miles per hour instead of 35. Either way, you've burned almost nothing compared to the driver who held the throttle to 50 feet from the line. You see brake lights 2 cars ahead, not 1 car, 2, and you're already off the gas before the car in front of you has touched its pedal. The fuel consumption gap between a reactive driver and an anticipatory driver on the same route in the same vehicle has been measured at 20 to 30%. Not a different engine, not a tune or an additive, just the direction someone chose to look. This is the hardest habit to build because American roads fight you the whole way. Wide lanes, fast traffic, constant lane changes. The environment pushes you into reactive mode. 3 weeks of deliberate practice before it starts to feel natural. After that, it just becomes how you drive. One drill fleet trainers use? Before you pull out of any parking lot, say it out loud. 15 seconds. Then at your first red light, instead of looking at the car in front of you, look 2 lights ahead. What color are they? What's traffic doing past the next block? You're training your eyes to stop fixating on the immediate. Most drivers never think about what's happening more than a car length ahead. 15 seconds is a completely different world. Once you start seeing it, you can't go back to not seeing it. 7 habits, none of them cost $1. All of them came from people whose paychecks depended on finding every gallon. Finally, here are 3 rules to take with you. 1. The cheapest gallon of gas is the one you never burn. Weight, drag, tire pressure, AC timing, every one of those is fuel you're wasting before you even touch the throttle. 2. Smooth and slow are not the same thing. Get to cruise speed with purpose. Stay in the RPM sweet spot and let the engine do the braking before the pads do. 3. See the road 15 seconds ahead. Stop reacting to the bumper in front of you. Start reading the pattern. That single habit changes everything else. Tell me in the comments, what's your highway cruising speed and what kind of mileage are you actually getting? I read every one. 2 more videos on screen right now that go deeper into what your car can do that nobody ever showed you. I'll see you there.